people, and welcome. This is the second video of the factoring unit section. As always, if I make a mistake, let me know so that way we both can learn from it. In this video, we're going to be talking about the guess and check methods for the quadratic trinomial. So what that means, quadratic, means the highest exponent will be 2. And trinomial means there are 3 terms inside the bubble. And again, the bubble, sometimes you won't see it. That just means that it's there. Mathematicians are just lazy to write it. So for example, let's not do an example. Let's do some steps first. I'm going to do the diamond method first. I think when we are learning to multiply, not even multiply, when we're originally learning to factor, we learn the diamond method. But I'm going to show you something a little bit different than probably what you're used to. So in the top, so you have diamonds, and that's big X. So these are your steps. Step number 1, in the top, put the product of A and C. Again, all of this will make sense when we do an example. Step number 2 is in the bottom, put the value of B. So what we have right now is we're going to do A times C, and this is B. And let me write this out. So we have AX squared plus BX plus C as our quadratic trinomial. So you're going to take A and C and you're going to put them, you're going to multiply them, you're going to find the product. So product means multiply. So you're going to find the products and take those, multiply, put them on top. Here, you're going to take your B and put them on the bottom. So then step number 3, the left and the right locations are the number that when multiplied give us AC, and when added give us B. Okay, now so far nothing's really changed when we do the diamond method. You know, usually you take C, what are 2 numbers multiplied to get this in here, but this time we're multiplying A and C. I mean, that could be a change from what you're used to. But what it means is you're going to have a number here, and you're going to have a number here. We don't know what those numbers are. We don't. So that just means if I take these 2 numbers and I multiply them, they're going to give me AC. They're just going to give me this number on top. And I usually put a dot there, and I usually put in plus here, just so I know that I'm looking for 2 numbers to multiply to this number on top, and I'm looking for 2 numbers to add to the number on the bottom. So this number times this number is going to equal the top. And then this number plus this number is going to equal the bottom. Whatever those numbers are. So this is where things are going to change for you. Step number 4, put a fraction bar over the left and right values. And put A on top. So this is where things get changed. We want the bar over the left and right values, and you're going to put A on top. So step number 4 is super important. So here are my left and right values. I'm actually going to erase them and write them lower so I have room for my bar. So here is E and F. And E and F just represents a number. We don't know what it is. You're going to put a bar on top. You're going to put a bar on top. And you're going to write A. Then you're going to simplify the fractions. Step number 5. This is why it will all make sense here in a second. The top part of the fraction is the x coefficient of the binomial factor. Again, factor is just the bubble. And the bottom is the constant. So what that means is for step number 5, the top is the x coefficient, the bottom is the constant. So what that means is the top is the x coefficient, the bottom is your constant. Let's do an example. And I'm going to actually do an example right next to or right below all of our steps. Let's say we have 2x squared minus 5x, minus 3. And our task or our objective is to factor. So this is the expanded form. We want to factor. So you're going to do a bubble. This is your A. This is your B. And this is your C. And make sure you take the sign with it. You'll have to take the sign with it. So A times C is 2 times negative 3. That is negative 6. B is negative 5. So we want 2 numbers. This is where guess and check comes into play. We're going to guess 2 numbers, and we're going to check if they work. So what are 2 numbers that when I multiply, this is why I put a times here, so I know which one's multiplied, which one's addition. So 2 numbers when I multiply give me negative 6, but when I add them, give me negative 5. And those 2 numbers that I can think of is, I'm thinking 3 and 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. So if I make one of them negative, so if I do negative 3 times 2, but that doesn't give me negative 5. So I have to try it again. So this is where guess and check comes into play. So another one could be 6 and 1. 6 times 1 is 6. So negative 6 times 1 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. So I have negative 6 and 1 are my 2 numbers. I have guessed these 2 numbers and I have checked them and they do work because negative 6 times 1 is equal to negative 6 and negative 6 plus 1 is equal to negative 5. This was our A, C value. This was our B value. Now we're at step number 4 and step number 5, which are super duper important. Like I can't stress that enough. So what you're going to do is you're going to put a bar on top. You're going to write your 2. You're going to write your A value, which is 2. And you can even jump ahead and just write 2 with an X. Because the top number is going to be your coefficient. your top number is going to be your coefficient of the x. So then simplify. So I have 2 and 6. So I have x over, what is this? -3 as my simplified fraction. This one cannot simplify, so I simply just have 2x over 1. So how are we going to be using these two bubbles? So these two are going to make up your factored answer. So you're going to have two bubbles. So on the first one, you have x divided by -3. And the second one, you have 2x minus 1. The x is your x value. So if I have 2x, that's going to be your 2x. The bottom is going to be your constant. It's going to be a -3. So the bottom is your constant +1. And that's going to be your final answer. So we have x minus 3 times 2x plus 1. This is your factored form. This is your before you multiply to get expansion. This is your factored form. When you multiply these two, you should get this answer. We are not going to multiply, but you can multiply and check your answers. And that's how you do this method. Now, this method also works if you don't have a coefficient out in front here. If your coefficient is 1, you just have 1 instead of a number. So here, instead of writing 2x, you just write 1x because the number is 1. What is A? A is 1 if you don't have a number out there. Okay, so that's option number 1. Option number 2 is called the slide and divide. So let's do option number 2, slide and divide. My recommendation for you, pick one of these methods and only do one of these methods. Don't learn both of these methods. Don't do it. You're going to get confused. Choose one method, either the diamond method or the slide and divide. This method is called slide and divide method. I always recommend choosing either the diamond method or this method. Step number 1, I don't know why I did a little bubble there. I keep doing bubbles, but step number 1 is to slide the leading coefficient A to the end and multiply by C. So if you have your original, so here's your, let's just use letters. So we have ax squared plus bx plus c. You're going to take your A, you're going to slide it over, and you're going to multiply. So what you're going to have left over is you're going to have an x squared plus bx plus whatever A times C is. That's step number 1. Step number 2 is factor using guess and check. You can use the simple diamond method if you want, but you have a 1 here. So all you're going to do is you're going to do reverse FOIL, guess and check. So basically reverse FOIL is just what are two numbers multiplied to give you your AC and add to give you your B. Step number 3 is you're going to put back the number you slid. So take your A. I'm trying to see if I can word this better for you guys. So after you factor, divide the constant by your original A. So let's say after you factor, you have x plus something and you have x plus something. You're going to take and divide this number by your original A. Step number 4, you're going to simplify the fractions. Step number, I think I called this number 5, but this is step number 4. This is step number 5. If a fraction cannot be simplified, So if a fraction cannot be simplified, take the denominator and place it as the coefficient of x. So for example, let's say this one does simplify. So you end up with x plus a number. This one does not simplify, so you have a number divided by whatever a. So you're going to take your unsimplified fraction, or you're going to take, the fraction that's left over, and you're going to put your value. Now, this could be any value, and I'll show you this. I'm assuming that this fraction completely can't be simplified. And that's it, and you're done. Check your work by multiplying and making sure you get your original answer. Let's do an example so it makes a little bit more sense. Again, choose this method or the diamond method. Don't do both. Step number one, let's give you actually the question before we move on to step number one. So let's do 3x squared plus x minus 10. So let's factor this. Take your a, slide it over, and multiply by c. So what we have left is we have x squared plus x. 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. Step number two is you're going to factor using guess and check. And we're going to do the reverse FOIL. That means I have x, I have x. So two numbers multiplied to get to 30. We can do a simple diamond method. Two numbers multiplied to get to negative 30, but when I add, they give me a positive 1. So what am I getting? What am I getting? I think 5 and 6. So if I have 5 times 6, and 5 is negative, so I have negative 5, and I have positive 6. Step number 3 is after you factor, divide the constant by your original a. So what's my original a? My original a was 3, so here it is. Simplify is step number 4, so we're going to simplify that fraction. This fraction doesn't simplify, so I have x minus 5 thirds. However, this one does simplify. 6 divided by 3, that is 2. Since this one didn't simplify, we're going to take the denominator, we're going to put it in front of our x as our coefficient. So I have 3x minus 5 times x plus 2, and you are done. Let's do another example. Again, this works if it doesn't have a coefficient out in front. So let's do one that doesn't have a coefficient out in front. So if it doesn't have a coefficient out in front, you guys, it's super duper simple in that you just do the guess and check method for reverse FOIL, because you know your x's don't have a coefficient out in front because there's no coefficient out in front here. So two numbers multiplied to give you 5, but when you add them, give you 6, and that is plus 1 and plus 5. That is because 1 times 5 is 5, but 1 plus 5 is 6. So double check this if you don't believe me. Do the box or the FOIL method. Factoring is undoing the multiplication that you did. So if I was to check my answer, we have x squared, we have 1x, we have 5x, and we have 5x. 1 plus 5 is 6, and we get our original answer. Now, that's not what we wanted to do. I kind of jumped ahead. I wanted to show you that this works for any number. So let's do example 3. For any number, let's do 2w squared plus 7w plus 3. Let's see if this one factors. So step number 1 is you take your leading coefficient, you multiply it. So I have w squared plus 7w plus 2 times 3 is 6. So I want simple diamond. times and plus. I want two numbers to multiply to 6, but when I add them, give me 7. So that is 6 times 1 is 6, but 6 plus 1 is 7. So I have my factors, x plus 6, x plus 1. Not done because the leading coefficient was 2. So I am going to write 2 underneath my constants. I'm going to simplify. This is 3. This does not simplify. So that means I take the denominator and I put it out in front, which is 2. So my answer is x plus 3 times 2x plus 1. All right, beautiful people, I hope you enjoyed this video. Choose your method, either the diamond method or the, what was this method called? The slide and divide method. As always, I really enjoy you watching my videos, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.